Welcome back to the Football Terrace and another top six debate show. Now, tonight is a bit of a twist. So we are going to debate and you are going to place and pick the Premier League's greatest ever manager, but we are going to exclude Sir Alex Ferguson. And before anybody kicks off, before anybody asks why we're going to be doing it, this just isn't a debate if you include Fergie. This debate tonight is what these managers have achieved when being Premier League managers, both domestically and internationally. There is no point doing the debate including Fergie. I think it's far more fun to take him out and let almost the best of the rest in many ways. We've got a brilliant panel on tonight. Daniel's here with us. Man like Tom, Ram, Igal, and Neeks is back with us as well. How's everybody doing?
I'm not too bad. Not too bad. West Indies just beat up England in the cricket, so I'm good. But then Hamilton came 10th in the F1, so that sort of dampened on the evening. But West Indies still won, and that's the most important thing.
Yes, I hear you on that. Good. And of course, it's the dreaded weekend is over with no proper football, and slowly start building up to the Premier League returning. But it's going to be a good show tonight. It really is going to be a good show tonight. Viewers, remember, you get to super chat in to see who you want to put top. It's a bidding system, so the person at the top wins. We've added something new tonight due to some feedback after Thursday's show. So every time someone gets toppled off when we get into the final countdown, a new minute will be added to allow anybody that wants to beat that bid. It almost gives everybody a bit like an auction where you get a going once, going twice, etc. So we'll be adding that in tonight for you. A few people have said they'd rather have that than it just be over. So that's going to happen later. So feel free to start getting your super chats in and we'll add them up later. But here's the look. Here is a look at the managers up for discussion tonight. Jose Mourinho, Pep, Klopp, Ancelotti, Ranieri, Pellegrini, Mancini, Conte, Rafa Benitez, Thomas Tuchel, Kenny Dalglish, David Moyes, and Arsene Wenger. They're all the names that are there. And look, boys, we're going to be about 45 minutes debating this. But who wants to go first with a name? Someone they think is, you know, that's the rankings, by the way, as well. Sorry, there's a GOAT, there's legend, great, good, overrated. That's where things.
Why is David Moyes there? What's my man David Moyes doing?
I don't know.
All right,
Everyone else has won a big trophy, and David Moyes is just there with his 5th place with Everton a couple of years ago.
You know what? Let me go first then. Let me go first, and let me go with David Moyes. Can I see the rankings again quickly?
Oh, no.
Because the reality is, if we're talking about what they've done in the Premier League era, we can look at, trophies, cool. In terms of the Premier League era, David Moyes is better than Manuel Pellegrini. Manuel Pellegrini won a Premier League with Man City. Okay, cool. All right, who doesn't win a Premier League with Man City? Everyone since the Saudis come in. Like, how difficult is it really? He came in, he won one Premier League. I think maybe he won a FA Cup, maybe, and got sacked for a better manager.
So, Neeks, does Dodd come into the conversation? The degree of difficulty.
The degree of difficulty has to come into it. It has to come into it.
Yeah,
for this whole
David Moyes got a big job. The one time David Moyes got a big time job, he didn't even see out the season.
That's cool, but that's not the be all and end all of his time in the Premier League. What he was doing with Everton, to get that Everton side with man like Lee Carsley and was it Thomas Gravison and Tim
respect
Cahill?
Gravison, man. Respect him.
Yeah. Neeks, come on, man. Come on. You're not 16-year-old. You're not a 16-year-old. Let's not say that Everton side was now a bad team suddenly.
Wait, no. It was not a good team. That Everton side should never have been fourth.
It was
that
okay.
Everton side, come on.
No. Look, let's
Daniel, that Everton side should never ever have come fourth.
It was
ever.
Okay, cool. Now that let's look at it like this. I understand and I will totally agree with. Of course, the Premier League is so much more competitive now due to influx of money, whatever factors you want to put in. It's just a lot more competitive now than it was back then. There was a clear distinction between the teams. There were tables within tables. We understood that different teams had different priorities. Of course, you had I'd put Everton in the category when Aston Villa had Stuart Downing and Ashley Young and John Carew, them kind of players there. Like I'd put them all in the same bracket. Everton, Aston Villa, those guys. They weren't top 4 caliber. So the Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea, and Arsenal, but they were still knocking on the door. Like they were.
But why were they knocking? But why were they knocking on the door? If you remember, he took over Everton fighting relegation. They finished.
Okay,
15th.
Cool.
And he got them to challenge for top 4, and ultimately got them in top 4 one year.
It's just about perspective, and then it will help me understand where you're coming from. In terms of David Moyes' job at Everton, obviously, again, the West Ham job gives him a lot more juice in it. So fair enough.
I wasn't even going to go into that, but we can focus on Everton because that's where I'm saying.
The Everton job that he did, would you say it's on the same level as Martin O'Neill's Aston Villa?
Well, Martin O'Neill never actually came fourth. In terms of
consistent.
No. In terms of the job at hand, so it's like this is the task. This side ain't good enough for top 4, but try and get us there. They were tasked with the same job. David Moyes actually got fourth. He actually got fourth, and then he went away, left Everton, failed at Man United, came back, and proved that it wasn't a fluke what he did at Everton, because again, he had to take over West Ham side, who were fighting against relegation, save them from relegation, got sacked. They got him back because they realized they were wrong to sack him, and now he's got them challenging for top 4 again.
But he also got a Sunderland team that had been for years the consistent bottom dodgers and got them relegated for the first time.
Oh, but no, that
Sunderland team was trash. They were always going down. They were going to go down at some point.
That was
actually
guys, one sec, guys.
Allardyce was doing it.
To be fair to Moyes, he's the 2 or 3 jobs he took after the Man United job were he was recovering from that failure, and it was a failure going to Manchester United. But if you look at what he did at Everton, and then even more so now, Pellegrini was he not the manager of West Ham before Moyes?
Yes.
You take away, and the point Nick said here is that he's better than Pellegrini. It wasn't he's the greatest manager in the Premier League history. That isn't the argument here. They both took over the same West Ham team in the same fairly similar proximity in time period with the same owners in the league as it is now. You take away the billions of pounds or hundreds of millions of pounds that Pellegrini had at Man City, and he was, as a Premier League manager, was bang average. Because when West Ham got him, there was a lot of excitement in East London that, wow, we've got a title-winning manager taking over our club, and he was absolute dog breath. He was dog breath
at Real Madrid as well.
Just leave this. Yeah, he didn't win anything at Real Madrid. I think they scored a lot of goals. But Everton finished 15th, 7th. So this is, I think he took over when they're fighting relegation. That season they finished 15th. Next year I think they finished 7th. 2004, 15th. 2005 they finished 4th ahead of a Liverpool team who won the Champions League
without Wayne Rooney as well.
Yeah, because he had left in 2004. So David Moyes for me is, I put him in that category. I have to put him in. Let me see it again. I think it's
good, man.
Has to be good. Has to be.
And where would you put Pellegrini based on your point?
Overrated.
Okay, then that's pretty fair. I want to move on to another manager, just in the interest of time here. Viewers, keep those comments coming and smashing the like button. 2 Liverpool managers here I want to touch on and just have a little discussion and place them. Kenny Dalglish and Rafa Benitez. Rafa, I know Rafa's managed more than just Liverpool, but I still see him as a Liverpool manager in my opinion.
Rafa's hard, you know.
Rafa's hard. Fans say about Rafa.
Go on.
Rafa's a good.
What?
Ooh, I don't know. I think he might be touching great.
He might be touching great, but just I think he's right on the cusp in between, because I do think he should have won a league title with that team he had.
Oh, you do?
Hang on a minute. We were told. Whoa! Hang on. We need to bring this back. Every other time we've discussed Gerrard on this channel, Gerrard's Rafa team was put.
I've never said Gerrard's Rafa teams were poor. We had the best midfield in the league at that time.
In 08-09.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that 08-09 team should have won a title, and because he
just got beaten by
a lot of draws.
No.
Wow.
Please,
keep coming, Tom. Keep coming, Tom. Keep it coming, Tom.
Please.
Rafa Benitez is a fantastic manager, and Rafa Benitez, I I love him for Istanbul, especially. You know, he's done a lot of great things in and around the city. But Rafa Benitez probably should have won a Premier League title with that squad he built, because it was a very, very good squad. Very
Ram,
good squad.
don't come and say facts now. Ram, don't come and bandwagon.
Ram, you've been on these chats
Exactly.
when your Rafa teams were slagged off, and you've sat there in
from around about 04 to 07, no 06, it wasn't that good. But from 07 to 09,
hang on a minute, you won the Champions League. That's when you won the Champions League.
Exactly. Our team was
good, man.
It wasn't. Stop it with this revisionism, man.
The 09 side,
from 07 to 09,
side was,
that team was very,
they
very
bottled
good.
it when he said when he brought out the facts rant, and it all went down, didn't it?
He lost.
For one question. For Rafa Benitez, are we just looking at his Liverpool side, or are we not going to look at Chelsea and Newcastle also?
But you're right, Gal. That's where, for me, it goes good, because Newcastle, I think he did a great job, again, pound for pound, degree of difficulty. But what he did at Everton, absolutely shocking. But then again, Chelsea, didn't he win you something? Didn't he win
I forgot about Everton. I forgot about Everton. Put him in great now. He done great with Everton. Put him in great now.
One second. I personally think when it comes to Rafa Benitez, can you show the list again? Okay. I think you can put him in good or great. If you put him in overrated, I feel like that's a little bit disrespectful.
No, he's not overrated.
No,
he's
definitely
not overrated, but he's like very top end of good.
I think
or low end of
do
great.
you know what not puts him in great is because he did get relegated. I know Newcastle, that team was shocking.
I don't hold that relegation too.
I know I don't hold it as well, but fine margins in it.
And am I wrong, Terry? Did you say Kenny Dalglish for the second one?
Yeah, Kenny Dalglish, because again, he won the title with Blackburn. But I need to put some perspective on this, and I'm not disrespecting youngsters. Blackburn's team they weren't some little old team with nothing. They pumped at the time the equivalents of hundreds of millions of pounds in equivalents to now's money. It was massive.
It was the equivalent of Mancini winning it with
City.
Man City.
Yeah. Based on his league titles with Liverpool and what he's done with Blackburn and the amount of trophies that he acquired at his time.
He never won the league with Liverpool.
He won the first division.
That was before the Prem. We're talking Premier League era. League era.
Okay. So if we're only talking Premier League era, I'm looking at it right now. Only the
League Cup. He won the League Cup in it.
League Cup as well.
Yeah.
Did he win something with Newcastle as well?
No, he didn't. He went into Newcastle again. I'm old. When he went into Newcastle after Keegan got his mind battered by Fergie, I remember the noise from everyone, Arsenal fans, or when the score, a lot of Liverpool fans, like, you're done for now. Kenny Dalglish is taking over Newcastle. He'll get them to beat you and overtake Fergie. That was beautiful.
So, Terry, is it fair to say Kenny Dalglish's trophies before the Premier era exclude him from being anywhere in the great talks? But if you
think he's in the great category, that title with Blackburn was a great win.
No. The fact that we're not including his non-Premier League awards,
I'm not including it.
So,
he cannot
Tom, where do you have Claudio Ranieri, just out of interest?
Claudio Ranieri's in great because of how mad that title win was. You have to put perspective onto these titles.
Remember, Neeks,
so you win one trophy, you're immediately great. What's going on? Where's the standards?
Say that again.
What's going on? Immediately you're great. If you win one trophy, you're immediately great.
But Dodd, this is the thing, right? That's why I asked Neeks, how much does Dodd play into this degree of difficulty?
What I'll say, when it comes to my MOYES analysis, it's also to do with the longevity of what he's done. It wasn't a wham bam thank you ma'am. So degree of difficulty, yes, but it's also degree of difficulty over a period of time. Ranieri's, that was a great win, and his Chelsea side weren't bad either. Like, that side were, if he had remained as manager, I believe he would have won a Premier League title with Chelsea. I do believe he would have. You got to the Champions League semi-final that year. Lost to Monaco.
Yeah.
And where did you finish in the league?
Second.
Second.
So
I think you were your trajectory, especially with the money that Romovich brought in, the players that you brought in, you won't go in that direction. I'm not saying he would have replicated exactly what Jose done, but you will go in that direction. He's a good manager. I don't know.
Yeah, no, but I don't disagree that he's a good manager. I think the argument is whether he's great or good in comparison rather to Kenny Dalglish. Do you know what I mean? Like we're looking at what they've done, their time. Of course, we're factoring in degree of difficulty. For me,
I'm putting Ranieri above Kenny Dalglish.
Yeah,
I think both of them are still in good though, because we still can't forget about little stints that Ranieri has also had in the Premier League. If we're talking about Rafa Benitez as well,
Fulham and Watford.
I think as well, when we get, I think good's a good place to start. Remember, the viewers, you can change this whenever you want with your super chats and things. But when we think about who's coming up in this debate for great legend, and everyone knows I'm going to obviously throw a curveball in because I'm changing my stance tonight, by the way, people. Where I used to say to be a great manager, you've got to do back-to-back trophies in a Champions League. That changes tonight, and I'll get onto that a little bit later. I've changed my stance a little bit. Daniel and Neeks actually convinced me to do this a while ago. I just didn't tell them because I never admit defeat. I did then.
I'm very intrigued.
That's cool. So I want to throw another manager in who hasn't won. He has won a trophy since he's been here, but he's kind of new to all of this. I want to throw him in now for a chat. Where right now are we ranking Thomas Tuchel?
Good.
He's a
Good.
What? Someone chat.
That's the goods. He's good, yeah.
You know what? He has to. I think he might have to be put into considering the categories. And there's There's two categories above great. I'm happy to put him in great.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay, I thought you were going to say overrated.
Considering there's two categories above great.
No mercy, bro. Stop at this. None of this mercy stuff for.
He won a Champions League.
So was Rafa Benitez.
How many managers on this list have actually won a Champions League?
I just
Rafa
want to
Benitez, Jurgen Klopp.
Is Di Matteo on the list?
Chelsea, but
No.
Okay, just asking.
I didn't put him on there. I've added a new category, which I think could be quite fun. So I added a new category. Will be great.
Yeah.
Okay, then put him there. Put him there.
That to be fair though, I would have said you should take out, because I think that's a bit of a cop out. That's a bit easy for us, because I was going to say that I disagree with Neeks in terms of him being great. Yeah, for me, it will be hypocritical for me to say he's great, even though I think he's.
I deleted it.
But I can't. But Daniel, I can't put him in the same category as some of the good managers.
This is where
I have to put him in great.
Do you know what's crazy about it? I mean, obviously I made these links. Champions League winner, but it isn't like Di Matteo.
No,
this guy has played in 5 cup tournaments since he came to the Premier League, and he's made the finals of all of them. The FA Cup. Sorry, he's got. Is it 5 finals now? He's been to
FA Cup final, League Cup, Champions League final, Club World Cup.
4
and Super Cup 5.
Yeah, Super Cup final. But then, sorry, I did read that. But then again, he's in the FA Cup semi-final, and he's in the Champions League quarter-final. Like, he hasn't been knocked out of a cup competition yet, unless he's been beaten in a final.
FA Cup final.
No, unless he's been beaten in the final.
In the final. Why, Ram, sometimes you need to just let people finish talking before you speak. you do it so often where you finish people's sentences for them almost. Like, what he's done so far is great. But I agree with Daniel. I can't put him into great yet because it's still only like one major trophy, if that makes sense.
Can I tell you why I'm not also going to put him into great? Because I was one of the people who was onto Klopp when he first came. Europa League final, lost. FA Cup final, lost. I was like, right, is this guy going to come in and just not win any finals? You know what I mean? Of course, I value the fact that he's been to all these finals, and I think it's good experience for the team that he's building, that we're getting to these finals. Now, it's about consistency and winning these finals. So, for example, if we do get to the FA Cup final, whoever we face, I think we have to be winning. I don't even care if we play Liverpool. I think we have to be winning. We can't lose 2 finals in the same season, in my opinion. I think it will just look bad, innit? Do you know what I mean? I'll still love him. I'll still rate him, but he needs to, do you know what I mean? We're getting to the final now. Start to win.
It becomes again. If you get to an FA Cup final and lose it, but then win the Champions League again, it kind of goes. No one focuses on it. But no, I hear that definitely. I think Tuchel is one. Is a look. Listen, Tuchel started in a way, and I think actually your new owners coming in could be so. I feel like a lot of Chelsea managers with Roman would ever struggle to touch. We haven't got to the debate yet, but Pep's and Wenger's and Fergie's, because they never get long enough. That it's hard to build that legacy and greatness because you could. I mean, I still look back at Ancelotti and think they'd have just kept him a few more years. He'd have won more league titles and more trophies and be in the conversation. But your new owners might keep Tuchel for 3, 4, 5, 6 years. And if he does, like Tuchel will surpass Wenger, in my opinion. If Chelsea spend well and keep the project working good, he'll win more in terms of a variety of trophies in a period of time than Wenger will. And he's already got the Champions League.
We don't know that for sure, though. The issue is Chelsea have this situation where nobody knows what their current future is going to be with the new ownership. So even with the prospect of them continuing to recruit well and continuing to pick up a couple trophies here and there, he's still going to have to do a lot to bridge the gap with Arsene Wenger. Let's not be dishonest here.
But again, no one knows anything. Based on that logic, you shouldn't be talking about what Arsenal might do next year because
no, that's not
we don't know. No, it isn't true. The point
when
is
you're comparing when you're comparing somebody to a Premier League great,
yeah.
you don't just say off their first year and a half they're going to continue this because guess what? They did the same thing. They did the same thing with Jose when he won his Champions League. They said he's going to surpass Sir Alex Ferguson. He still hasn't.
Well, this is the thing. But again, that's a prediction, though, mate. And like I just said, I mean, you've basically said the same thing I said, but you've said it from the negative side of it. I said, if the ownership comes in and does a good job, if they continue to keep the project on track and keep him in place, he could surpass him. But if the things you've said happen, the project doesn't work, the owners are bad, they regress, then of course he won't. But we're both saying the same thing, just the opposite ends of the same conversation. He started off so well, Thomas Tuchel. He's given himself a base to grow from. No one knows what happens from this point, but he could do something very, very special.
And you know what? Comments like that and comments like putting him in the same conversation as Klopp right now makes him slightly overrated. When you put him in conversations he's not in yet, but he's not overrated. He's a good man.
But I don't think him being in a discussion with Klopp overrates him. I think I'm not saying he's better, but it's worth the debate. Let's talk about it.
Do you agree with George's comments that Emil Smith-Rowe has the ability to make it into the top 10 players in the world when he hits his peak?
I think that's a wild statement, but I wouldn't question it because I'm an Arsenal fan.
So again, you wouldn't question that, but
because I would want it to happen, obviously.
Yeah. So if you think about it from the point of just point of view, Thomas Tuchel, Emil Smith-Rowe right now can't be compared to the top 10 best players in the world.
No,
so an Arsenal fan saying he has the ability to do that isn't overrating him. It's saying he has the ability to maybe reach that level. Overrating Tuchel would be saying he right now is in that great conversation or legend of the Premier League conversation. Not he has the potential to. Saying someone has the potential to be isn't overrating them. That's quite literally saying they might make it there one day. I don't think that's overrating myself, but there we go.
We're not saying he will reach it because there's no guarantee. He could get sacked next year. We don't know how Chelsea's new setup is going to run. Yeah. But if the situation is similar and he carries on the same trajectory, there's nothing stopping him from doing the same thing. So is it a bit? I'd put him in good or great. That's where I'd have him. I think what he's done so far, this Chelsea team is brilliant. But it's not an outlandish statement to go, well, give him 3 or 4 years and he might be comparable to this Klopp currently. Because we're not comparing him to 3-4 years in the future Klopp because we don't know what will happen with Klopp in the future. But in 3-4 years, this version of Thomas Tuchel could have matched this version of Jurgen Klopp. That's the whole point there.
Agreed. There's 3 other managers I want to get to before the big boys because I want to get to the big boys soon. We've got Wenger. We know the big 4 are in this conversation. Carlo Ancelotti, a league winner, record-breaking league winner at the time, FA Cup winner.
Double.
Yeah. Did he double?
Yeah, he won the Premier League and the FA Cup in the same season.
And then you won and then you retained the FA Cup the following year.
No,
Man City won it.
No, that was it. He just won the double one.
He didn't win anything. He just finished second the next year, innit?
Did I say Carlo Ancelotti? I meant I was looking at a picture of Antonio Conte. My brain's gone. Sorry. Yeah, Carlo Ancelotti. Like, where are you placing him?
Do you know what?
Carlo Ancelotti.
I think
Carlo Ancelotti.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry, my bad.
I wish there was an underrated category for him because I do think he got a very hard done by Chelsea. I think if he'd been given a little bit more time to work with that squad, he seems to have something good going on there. But he was just a victim of that, rotating door of Chelsea managers at the time. I do think he was a bit underrated, at the time, but for what he achieved, you know, a double is a hard thing to do. I think he's in great. I do think you've got to put him in that great category for his time in England because he achieved something that not many managers can do.
I don't know, man.
Double, and how many years was he at Chelsea, if I'm mistaken?
2 years.
Just 2.
Wow.
Well, he did double his first season, wasn't it?
How much? 1 second. Quick question. Before and after he was manager, did the other managers have success also?
Man United just came off the back of a free-peat. Which other managers are you talking about? Chelsea.
Yeah, I'm talking about Chelsea.
Oh,
Chelsea win the league before or after Ancelotti?
They won the league before and after Ancelotti.
Well, okay. Man United just won the back of a free-peat, and then he won it, and then it was Man City. Sorry, it was Man United, Man City, Man United, Man City, Chelsea. So it was there was about 5 years either side of him winning it that Chelsea won the league.
Was he the manager also when you went to the Champions League final and lost to Chelsea to Man United?
No, that was
Average.
Okay, so based on that, I feel like it's such a small sample size being at Chelsea, and the fact that he also was at another job in the Premier League, and he did, I'll say, a medium job, not really that good.
No, it was dead. It was less. Was awful.
Yeah,
he had that little period where he was fighting.
We have to say Ancelotti's a little bit overrated based on the fact that his career outside of the Premier League was so successful, but inside the Premier League, he achieved the pinnacle one season, got the double, but then everything else after that, he didn't really live up to that.
Even though I hear your argument, and it's not one of your worst ones.
So that's a compliment.
But I disagree, man. I think it was
I wish there was an overrated category and we could change it, but that's like I can't put him in good because I feel like that team is just so good at Chelsea.
You can't have someone who's won a Premier League and the FA Cup in the same season and overrated.
I'm sorry, we can't have someone who won a double in the same category as David Moyes.
David Moyes should be higher.
One second, Igal. I want to throw a little bit of context into this, just to throw this out there. In 133 years of history of the FA Cup and League, only 11 teams and 9 managers have ever done the double. Not a variation of a double, but the double, the famous double, the League and FA Cup. 9 managers in 133 years have done it. And I think Fergie may be the only manager to have ever done it. No, Wenger has done it twice. Fergie has done it 3 times. And every other manager has done it once. So, yeah, Fergie and Wenger have more. It's 11 times and 8 managers. So only 8 managers in 133 years have achieved what he achieved.
I don't know if you can call that overrated.
You want me to make my point? I personally don't want to put him in overrated. I want to put him in more like an underrated category, but I don't want to put him in good or great. I just feel like based on his career, we're going to put him up there because of his career stature and everything he's done outside of the Premier League. But inside the Premier League, he only had the double, that one year where he did everything. And that Chelsea team was already great. I'm not trying to take away from him.
What I'm saying, Nico, I'm not saying that Chelsea team was very good. Don't get it twisted. It was. But they won the league in 2006 and 2015. Am I right?
Yeah.
That was it. Is that it?
Mm-hmm. They got to a couple of Champions League final in 08 and then obviously that.
When you actually really look at it, Ancelotti's the only manager that Ashley Cole played under at Chelsea that he won a Premier League for.
And Ashley Cole won everything.
That's not true.
I swear it is.
Ashley Cole won a Premier League under Mourinho as well.
Did he?
No, was he at Rome? I swear.
Was he there?
No, because you had a test.
The
second title, right? Okay, sorry. But that was like one of Ashley Cole's big ones, you know, that 09-10, the FA Cup and Premier League double. That season for Ancelotti was great. And afterwards, yes, he fell off a little bit, but I don't think you can really judge him about the 15-16, was it? The year after one, because that was 6 months.
Tom's right. Ashley Cole left in 2014 and joined in 2006.
Yeah, he went to Roma in 2014.
He got the 1 Premier League title.
So, where we placing Ancelotti, in great or good or overrated?
Because you said because I think he has to go into great because of the fact he's won the double. Like you said, Terry, only 9 other managers have ever done it in the history of English football.
8.
And it's how they won that
8.
league. It's how they won that league.
You guys don't value longevity. You guys don't value achievement.
I do, but there's two.
No, but then you could
argue great. That's the thing.
You could argue unanimously. Everyone said it was wrong for him to get sacked.
It's not his fault that he went there for longer. It's Chelsea's fault for sacking him.
And that's why, Ancelotti for me is one of those. Everybody in football was like, "What are you doing?" Like everybody questioned it at the time. So it's not. No one thought he was doing a bad job when he went. It was almost like, how? Why? It would almost be like sacking Tuchel this season. There's no reason to. There's zero reason to sack him. It would
because he didn't win the Champions League this year like he did last year.
You know what it was though? Everyone understood. Like, even though we didn't agree with it, and with hindsight, we obviously agree that he should have been given more time. Because who's to say that we don't still win the Champions League in the same time frame that everything happened? Like, we never know if we gave him that longevity. You actually never know. Like, if we gave him that longevity and whatnot, but. At the end of the day, there was a standard at the time. If you go a season trophyless at Chelsea, then you're done. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, no. But again, overrated. I think is like the man made this team, scored 103 goals, and of all the Chelsea teams in history, I mean, Thomas Tuchel. There's still the people who think he plays good football, and people. There's still a debate. I don't think there was any debate about the football that Ancelotti brought to the bridge. Like,
he also stopped as well. I think it was only by a point. Man United from winning 4 on the bounce.
4 on the bounce,
Like, that is an achievement in itself. Offside. Conspiracy. It's a conspiracy. But there we go. Look, sticking with Italians, Antonio Conte. Good. Won the league, won an FA Cup. He's come back, might get top 4 this year, against all odds.
That would be his greatest achievement in the Premier League.
Easy with that.
Say that again. Getting top 4 would be his greatest achievement.
Getting top 4 with Tottenham right now would be his greatest achievement.
That's easy.
Winning that Premier League title with that Chelsea team is definitely his greatest achievement.
No. Hypothetically, if he did get it with Tottenham, that would be a harder achievement. Because you guys were playing 1 game a week. Just you guys were playing one game.
No, don't try and make the 1 game a week thing seem like something.
Go on again.
You guys were playing 1 game a week. You weren't in Europe. You guys strengthened. You guys bought guys like Antonio Conte and these guys. You brought in a squad. And you know what he did? He went and he changed his formation to a back 3, blitzed the league. You guys should be actually thanking Arsenal because after you guys got beat 3-0 at the Emirates, that's when
making this a W for
plan. That's when he chucked everything out the window and said, "You know what? I'm going 3 at the back," and that's when your title charge.
That's basically Arsenal's Premier League title.
No, stop.
Yeah. No, I'm joking. I agree again.
Stay on point.
That's a little joke. And I'm joking. But I agree.
So where would you place him, guys? Where would you put him?
I would say good. Because that Chelsea team won the league in 2015. 2016 was not a representative of how good or bad that Chelsea team was to finish. When they finish?
15 or 10. Sorry, 10.
So him winning the league in 2017 was a great achievement because it was his first year as management. But for that Chelsea side, it's what they should have been doing. When you actually deep it, who were you competing against that year? A Spurs side who came third in a 2-horse race the year before. And the next highest side, Man City, has 78 points that year. Man United finished 6th. Liverpool weren't in contention either. So great achievement. And he did what he had to do, 96 points, whatever. But for me, that doesn't put him into a great category. And I agree, if he does get top 4 with Spurs, with this Spurs side, it might become like when Jose said that Secco was my best achievement. You might hear a little quote like that from Conte.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Mancini, interestingly, in the summer, bare Man United fans wanted him. Nah, nobody does. The way your stock can change. I mean, it just have to go in good.
Overrated. Really?
This is a man who crashed out of the Champions League group stages. Didn't even get Europa League. He finished bottom of his Champions League group.
Oh yeah, because Dortmund knocked them out. I swear in 2013. I swear they did.
I think it was 2 years in a row.
That alone is criminal for that Man City team. Yes, he won them their first title, and that's a brilliant achievement. You know, it's so hard to get that first one, but City, once they got that first one, it went, let's keep winning the Premier League. Let's push on in the Champions League. And his Champions League legacy is knocked out in the group stages, or there might be a round of 16 exit in there. Like, that is shocking for the quality of squad.
On top of that, sorry, Taran. Not only did he fail to defend the title, which it can happen, but they capitulated. Absolutely capitulated. They only won it on goal difference. Great achievement, you still won it. But that Man United side, and yes, it was under the greatest manager of all time, but that Man United side, we were struggling. Like, I think we didn't have a goalkeeper. David De Gea was out.
Didn't they lose to Wigan?
Let me ask you guys in the FA Cup.
In the FA Cup final, yeah, they did.
So we had David De Gea who came in, was Butterfingers. Lindegaard became the goalkeeper. Like, we were not stable. We pushed them right to the end of the league. In a team where Man City were like, yeah, that team's great. That team.
Everyone was saying that team should win the league.
1 second, guys. Let's just realize what we've just done here. Okay, what is the difference between what Roberto Mancini has just done and everything you said, getting knocked out of the group stages, not returning the league, not doing this, and what Antonio Conte done?
Antonio Conte got them out of the group stages.
Yeah, and Antonio Conte won the FA Cup against the team who was expected.
Antonio Conte.
Roberto Mancini also win the FA Cup.
And Antonio Conte won a double.
One second. Antonio Conte won the league.
He didn't win a double. What are you talking about?
Hang on a minute. Antonio Conte won the league with Victor Moses playing as right back.
And Marcus Alonso playing as left wing back.
But you guys sound like everything you're saying for Roberto Mancini, it also applies to Antonio Conte.
Because the expectations weren't as high for Antonio. Antonio Conte didn't walk into a team that had 200-300 million spent on it. He didn't walk into a team that had Yaya Toure, Sergio Aguero, David Silva. He walked into a team that had Victor Moses, Michy Batshuayi.
You're talking about when City's team, ironically, as great as they are now, that City team with Aguero, David Silva, Yaya Toure, Vincent, like these guys, they were a powerhouse, and there was so much embarrassment in terms of how they did in Europe, as an example, couldn't retain their league title.
And Terry, if you look at it at the time, even if you look at their backup squad, like Dzeko was a very highly rated striker. Was breaking record. Was very good in the Bundesliga. Like they had a great team.
I have to say this.
Zabaleta and Richards.
I have to say this. You just mentioned 1 second.
Let me say why, because I was one point
this, and then you can speak. There's one point that you just missed. You mentioned all these names and you mentioned money spent, but don't forget that Chelsea Football Club went into that summer after they finished 10th and spent 100 million on 4+ players. They brought in Michy Batshuayi, they brought in Conte, they brought in David Luiz, and they brought in Marcus Alonso. So when we're talking about the two situations, it is similar. Don't act like they're not similar. They both won the FA Cup, they both won the league, and they both, I think, won the Community Shield.
Yes, but 100 million. Sorry, let me just butt in real quick. 100 million in 2017 is not 100 million in 2011, 2010. What Chelsea paid for Michy Batshuayi was a similar price, if not more, than what City paid for Aguero. So City spent massive compared to the standards at the time.
But on top of that, Conte was there for 2 years, won the Premier League, FA Cup, and obviously got sacked. Mancini came in 2009, lost out on top 4 to Spurs, Peter Crouch and them, man. First year. Next year, just got top 4 against the same Spurs side. I think he came 4th that year. And in that time, obviously failing in Europe, didn't go deep into the Europa League, then got knocked out of the Champions League when he got there. When they won the Premier League, it was like, finally, because you spent so much damn money to get there in the first place. Ancelotti came in, won in his first year. Sorry, Ancelotti. Conte came in, won in his first year. FA Cup next year, got sacked.
And got to the FA Cup final.
Mancini had like 4 or 5 years of doing this and won 1 Premier League and capitulated the next year. And it's like...
And let's not forget that if not for a bogus Alexis Sanchez handball, and Conte would have he would have done the double that year. and then another bogus red card as well. So everything went against him in that FA Cup final. Just obviously,
is that what we're
That
doing
wasn't
now?
red.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm not
It's
doing
not
that.
about what we're doing. It's not about not what we're doing as such, but I think is what you got to remember as well. And again, Antonio Conte's situation reminds me of Ancelotti's. If the Chelsea board would have done the right thing and give him what he wanted in that summer, he wouldn't have fallen out with them. I stand by it. Like, this was my bugbear with Chelsea in those times. They would have these managers that would scare me as a rival. I'd be like, oh, this manager, this team. And then you would start to, they're not giving him who he wants. And they're at loggerheads. And it was another manager, another manager, another manager. And I always felt like, as a Man United fan, I was happy because I thought, oh, wow, like another great manager is going to leave their club. And it just happened. I thought it happened with Moyes. I thought it happened with Ancelotti. And I thought Conte. I thought those three, I thought were mistakes by the board in terms of falling out.
Terry, I think the even though I hear it and that's your angle, the one difference I would say between Ancelotti and Conte is what people forget is Conte did lose a lot of the dressing room with like the way things were handled, training methods. Like it was so repetitive that like some of the testimonies from like the training sessions that Conte would have, like it's like there's no fun in this. Like this is just like so militant. Like, do you know what I mean? So I hear it, innit?
Brother, I hear that. I'm talking more from the point of view of Mancini won the league, was fully backed, and then the following year to a completely like unbalanced Man United squad lost the league by 11 points.
Yeah,
you know, and I think that's I get the overrated claim. We're going to move on to the big four now. We have some super chats that came through I want to go to. First one says, Wenger, 22 years, no Champions League. Second one from Chike says, greatest Premier League manager. I mean, the GOAT is Sir Alex simply because of what he won. And also, what do you mean by greatest? I think greatest, we're leaving it open to interpretation, but it's what you did during your time in the Prem. I want to come on and have my say. We're not taking calls tonight, but thank you very much for the super chat, brother. Terry, I DM'd you the photos of my nan's boob transplant, like you asked. Yeah, I've had a look, mate. They're a lovely pair, son. Thank you very much for sending them through. Ancelotti stopped United from winning 4 in a row. Yes, he did. Mason Mount is the best midfielder in the world. Is what's been said. What's been said there. But I think he's being facetious. We're going to move on to the big four now within this. Igal, where should we be placing on this list, in your opinion, Arsene Wenger?
Show me the list again. Just want to see it quickly. Legend or GOAT? Depend. Simply put, legend or GOAT.
He is not sniffing GOAT, my bro. He's not sniffing GOAT.
Listen, I don't mind if you don't put him in GOAT, but he has to be minimum top 2 in my opinion.
Where do you want to put him again?
Yeah, I'm asking you, where do you want him, mate?
Based on the people there, I'll probably put him legend. Easy. And
so so you don't think that Arsene Wenger, if you exclude Sir Alex Ferguson, you don't think that Arsene Wenger is the greatest Premier League manager of all time, excluding Fergie?
At this moment in time, let's be honest, people care more about points tallies and
what do you care about?
But for myself, obviously he's Arsenal's greatest manager, and I want to put him as high as possible. But if I take bias aside, he is a legend regardless. And I don't think he's the greatest out of all those managers right now. I think Pep and Klopp's story is still not finished, and they could definitely surpass him. And at this moment in time, I think him and Pep, it's between who you prefer. And I think at this moment in time, you could say even Pep has surpassed Wenger. It's just depending on if you value it that way. I always would go with Arsene Wenger, but right now I'm putting a minimum legend. If you guys want to bump it up, I'll take it. But at this moment in time, I'm gonna place my card there. I want to see where you guys are.
No, there's no way I'm bumping him off legend. He is a legend. Like when we talk about faces of the Premier League, Fergie, Wenger, that era of rivalry encapsulates some of the greatest elements of the Premier League so far. So I think without a shadow of a doubt, he's legend. He was. I see commenting on 3 titles in 20 years. There is a context to everything. We've taken Fergie out of discussion for a reason, because he is the greatest. He was competing against Sir Alex Ferguson. It's not like all these other managers who was taking titles of Fergie, and Wenger came in and only won 3. No, there was Kenny Dalglish who got 1. That was it.
No,
that was it until Jose came. That was it. Until Jose came, that was the only person who took a Premier League title from Sir Alex Ferguson. on the last day of the season, even though they lost their game. So what Wenger did to win the double in '98, which was his first full season, great achievement. To win the double again in 2002, great achievement. And then to go unbeaten, which even Fergie wasn't able to do. You have to. I don't. If that's the only 3 titles he wins in his whole career, full stop. That alone is great. Like that alone is legendary.
Terry earlier said, I think stopping Manchester United was an achievement in its own. What he's been able to do in that era, he came in and immediately was competing with the best.
Yeah,
he came in and was competing with the team that was
his player recruitment. His player recruitment is one of his biggest facets. The likes. Listen, we're talking about who's the greatest player of all time in the Premier League. People say Thierry Henry. He bought Thierry Henry, moving from winger to a striker, and was integral to making Henry what he was. That the Arsenal team that played that football in the 2000s, even as a Man United fan, we were the better team because we won more games and won more trophies. But Arsenal played the most aesthetically pleasing football.
You want to know something, Nick?
He's a legend.
What hurts his reputation? What hurts his reputation is post 2000 and I would say 8. Everything post
period.
Well, you say post 2006 because 2006 you got to the Champions League final. And it was very downhill after that.
Definitely. But when it comes to all the people on this list, after Sir Alex Ferguson, when it comes to impact in the league, he has the greatest impact out of every single manager on this list right now. He's had a greater impact in the
I disagree.
It's probably right.
What do you mean by impact? So we understand your point.
I mean impact like changing the game, coming in and making an impact right away. When it comes to the similar thing where right now where you guys talking about Pep implementing his style, having different tactics, having different ways of managing his squad and players, bringing in, obviously, as you always guys say, bringing in, different types of work ethic, nutrition and fitness into the team. Also, his recruitment and him having foreign players implemented into the team, him being a foreign manager. You wouldn't have Klopp and Pep and Tuchel and these guys if Arsene Wenger wasn't one of the first people to break the mold. I'm just saying, Arsene Wenger, when it comes to impact overall for the English game, is had one of the greatest impacts and changed the game forever. But does that make him the greatest? Probably not. But it is something you have to consider when you're talking about greatest manager, how their legacy is left. And legacy-wise, he's one of the greatest of all time.
Just to quickly respond to that, and just 2 things. Obviously, look, again, I think it is down to perspective and how who you see as above. Like, for example, you said Wenger's top 2 after Wenger, after Sir Alex. I obviously disagree with that as well. I have Mourinho above Wenger. If we do have that debate, I think they're in the same category.
Premier League time.
Yeah, for his whole Premier League period. So if we do, obviously I have them both in the same category, but I do have Mourinho above Wenger. But just to respond to the greatest impact, I think Pep has had a greater impact. If we're talking about, and obviously I can use my experience with this. Look, if you look at the way academies play football right now, the influence that Pep, like every single academy right now is instructing players to play out of the back because of Pep. I would look at when Pep first came in and discarded Joe Hart. Let's not forget that when Joe Hart was discarded by Pep, he wasn't on a decline. He was still one of the best goalkeepers in the league, but he just didn't rate him because he couldn't use his feet. And obviously, everyone laughed at Pep when he brought in Claudio Bravo, and Bravo wasn't doing that well. And then he finally found the keeper for him that suits his style. So when you talk about goalkeepers playing out of the back in academies and the way everyone's training their players to play right now, it's because of Pep. Like, let's get one thing sorted. And I think that is that is one of the biggest impacts I've seen, because we've literally seen teams change their whole USP, their culture. The bottom of the table teams are trying to play out of the back as well. And I'm saying that influence is...
Guys, Jerry, the same thing applied to Arsene Wenger. He came in and the bottom teams were changing their style.
I have to admit, I have to say, Gal. No, Gal, I don't think so. Like, I don't think so. I don't remember, and it's if someone with a better knowledge on this remembers, but we didn't see everybody try to play like Wenger's team. I want to ask a question about Pep. Is it Pep has done that? Or is it a case of, was it Pep at City, or was it more the fact that the way Barca and Spain and these teams started playing football 10,
Terry,
12,
I was gonna
years ago. Because for me, I feel like when you see these 18, 19-year-olds come through now playing that way, I don't feel like they've been taught that in the last 3 or 4 years. I feel like they must have been taught that for over a decade.
I was going to say, Terry, just the goalkeeper thing. I don't know, because I felt a lot of the idea of goalkeeper sort of changed when Manuel Neuer became what he was. There's the idea of the sweeper keeper.
But
Daniel, everyone.
Oh yeah, sorry.
When Manuel Neuer came into the throw, everyone was talking about this is the new style of goalkeeping, the sweeper keeper, being able to play out from the back as well. I think Pep sort of made it popularized, but I think Manuel Neuer and that Germany team was the team that kind of started it.
Just the point to that is, in my opinion anyway, it depends on how you see things, innit? And for me, just because one anomaly comes out, and because Manuel Neuer was in his own field in terms of what he was able to do as a sweeper keeper, because there's one anomaly, that doesn't make it the trend. I think it became the trend because of the influence that Pep was able to have on his team. And let's not forget that even if we want to say with the Barcelonas, with the Spains, Manuel Neuer became the sweeper keeper, or a heightened version.
Don't forget Weidenfeller as well.
I wouldn't.
He was also a sweeper keeper himself.
I wouldn't call him a sweeper keeper.
Not like Manu, but like he's still.
That's my point. So I'm saying Manuel Neuer again became that heightened version of the sweeper keeper under Pep. So Pep's influence doesn't just have to be as soon as he landed into the Premier League.
Daniel, can I just ask you something real quick? Do you think if Pep Guardiola hadn't managed Manchester City in the Premier League, and let's say he went off to Juventus after Bayern, do you think the academy teams in this country would still be trying to play the passing out the back?
I don't think we'd see it to the same level. And the reason why I say that is because even when you look at, even if I give you like certain testimonies from a lot of academy coaches, they literally say that they model their teams based off of Pep teams in the past. So my thing is, I just think that without Pep being there, because remember, once Pep lands in England, everyone gets to go watch Pep training sessions. Everyone gets to go and talk to him. Everyone gets to experience him live in the flesh and whatnot. So without Pep being there, it's almost like, just him being there makes it better. So
I understand that take. Do you know what's interesting? I mean, I put Jose because of what you said, Daniel, and Wenger both into the legend category for now, based on what you said. I think for me, what I find interesting is this is a group debate, so I'm very much at a point where I'm going to just go with the consensus rather than my own opinions. It's not a dictatorship. I'm really strict. I've changed what I call greatness to legend now. That's where you guys influenced me a few months back, and it's still doubles are amazing, records are amazing, unbeatens are amazing, but I still maintain my personal standard of back-to-back league titles and/or a Champions League to qualify you for what I now call my greatness is now moved to legendary status. And I feel like I understand the arguments that Wenger didn't do it because he was competing against Sir Alex Ferguson, and I kind of do understand that. But some of those Arsenal teams, Arsenal fans rate as the best ever Premier League teams. Going back to back again, this is anecdotal. But when you listen to like a story about like people being influenced by Pep and people being influenced by Wenger and the diet and the style and everything else, when I've heard professionals talk about how hard it is to retain a league title in the difficult leagues, and they say that almost the motivation that it takes, the focus that it takes, the way you have to almost approach the following pre-season and season differently because you come in as champions. It's a very different mood. Like in some respects, the eye of the tiger can go away. We've seen it with a lot of fighters. They win their world title 2 or 3 fights later. They're almost not the same fighter anymore because they've almost reached the peak of the mountain and they stop. And I think that's still my personal standard. And that isn't, but then the problem is you go into greatness. Wenger is so far above every other manager that's below him. So I wouldn't put him in. I can't have him in the same category as an Ancelotti. He can't be in a Thomas Tuchel conversation right now because he has those 3 league titles, 7 FA Cups, 2 doubles, an invincible season. And look, the story stuff about diets and nutrition and whatever else, I used to really care about that for Fergie. I used to care about it for Wenger. And then I started doing research about a year ago into like different things certain great managers had done. And every single one of them you read about this innovative thing they did around culture, management, passing. And it's almost like, well, they're all just again, Wenger started the diet thing. Fergie got the drinking out, but there would have been somebody 10 years before Fergie that might have stopped the fighting. I don't know, the fighting. I don't know what it may be. Like, we have to go back and research.
People like
I'm gonna head off, guys.
Yeah, no worries, my man.
I'm just gonna say this. Honestly, the integrity of this list is beautiful. We kept it honest today. No one's doing agendas. That's at least what I'm saying. And when it comes to the Man City Klopp thing that we're gonna do in a second, I just want to make my point clear. I'm going with Pep. And if Klopp was to win the league or Champions League this season, or even possibly do both, then you could possibly bring him a little bit closer to Pep. But unless he gets both of them. If he gets both of them this year and he gets both the league and a Champions League, he eclipses him and he goes up ahead of Wenger, ahead of a lot of these guys on this list, in my opinion.
I appreciate that, Gal. We'll chat to you again soon, my guy. Top man. We are getting ready to go to your super chats. I know there's been some bids put in for your favorite managers already. There'll be a 10-minute countdown for you to get your super chats in to rescore this board. But we move into that time of the night, boys, and I thought it would end up with these. I thought Wenger would have a bit more fight in there from Miguel, to be fair. But
I was hoping we could discuss Mourinho.
I'm going to be honest.
We're not done with that yet. So
we'll come back there.
Mourinho on legend, is that a fair place for him, or should he be higher?
Can I go first?
Yeah,
please?
Yeah, go on.
No. Okay.
Because actually, can I respond to Neeks, man? I want to hear what Neeks has to say.
No, don't respond to me. Go.
Oh, are you sure?
Yeah, 100%.
Because I just know that there's this. I don't know why. Maybe because he's not the most. I think it's on reflection. Likable. I think when he does retire, I think that's when he's really truly going to be valued. If we talk about those little, or we talk about how leagues were won. I mean, come on, man. Someone who at the time, of course, it's been broken since then, but at the time he got the most league points. In a Premier League season, I think the 15 goals conceded again will never be eclipsed. I can't remember how many
mad stat, man.
That's it's crazy. The fact that I think there was a point where Chelsea fans were saying, and I let myself get dragged into this. I thought we were saying that Tuchel could. It just wasn't even the fact that we're even still defensively very good and we're still so far ahead of the 15 goals. And I think it was 6 penalties. Someone in the comments can probably correct me anyway. But there was a number of penalties. It wasn't like it was 1 or 2. There was like 6 penalties. So the fact that he conceded 15 goals in the season, I think is a record that, again, will never be eclipsed. A bit like the Invincible one. Again, maybe people will say the Invincible is far better. I don't really get into that. It's just a record that will never be eclipsed. Then you got the 83 home league games unbeaten. Chelsea, that's what, 3 years unbeaten? 4 years in total because it spanned over 3 managers, Ranieri, Mourinho and Scolari and Avram Grant. But Mourinho had the bulk of that in terms of what he did when he came in back-to-back. We go back to Terry's point about doing it back-to-back. And I saw a super chat and it was something I was going to say as well. If we're saying that Wenger had it hard in terms of going up against the GOAT, surely Mourinho coming in, regardless of the money that was spent, to then beat the Invincible team and also a Fergie team, that
back
in
to
itself,
back,
and do it back to back is crazy. And then for him to leave and come back and then win the league title again, and I think something that we didn't bring up about Wenger, just very quickly, something that we didn't bring up against Wenger. Fair enough, you might talk about the longevity and whatnot, but then you can't hold that against Mourinho because he went on to win things at other places. Wenger didn't complete the set. He never won a League Cup, if I'm not mistaken. And I think that as well.
Or Champions League.
Or Champions League. But to be fair, Mourinho didn't win one in a Premier League team, so that goes against him. But
can I just quickly say, I mean, people Agal like to talk about the eating habits and the nutrition. I think this is quite underestimated. I think Mourinho was the guy that started the whole maximizing the first couple of months of the Premier League season. Like, I think it was the first. I think it was the first year, 2004 or 5. I think he only drew 1 game in his first 10, if I'm not mistaken.
You're bang on. I remember Fergie talking about how and this is what's interesting about now. I hear a lot of Liverpool and City fans put out these claims that these teams are the best because of how little points they now drop in seasons. But all of these things for me they're a linear process. You know, I honestly think if you took Muhammad Ali from his pomp and put him in against a Tyson Fury now, because of the difference in diet, fitness, strength now of men in general in sport, Tyson Fury had hurt him bad. period versus period. You look at rugby teams from the 80s and look at the size difference in the men now. It's astronomical. They get hurt if there was a time machine. They could play each other. So it's very difficult to compare eras. What I like to do, that's why I don't. And I compare what they won because it's like for like in their respective times. But Jose changed the game. Starting the season off fast and furious was never a thing. You could draw 2 or 3 games, lose a few games. The league never got serious until about January.
Yeah.
And then
Man United kicked into gear in January.
Yeah, and Jose Mourinho changed that. You had to start quicker. All that's really happened with Klopp and Pep, and this isn't a dig, is they've taken it to another level where the purple patches of bad form are minuscule now. That you might get a 2-week period where they're bad, and then everything outside of that, they're very, very good. But it's all a process. So that's what I say about those stories. If every manager has done something, when you research it and you look into it, they've all changed something in some way. And you know what? If Fergie hadn't have stopped the drinking, and Wenger hadn't stopped the eating, and do you know what? Do you know who brought sports science into England and the Prem? No, Sam Allardyce.
Oh, yeah,
Sam Allardyce was the pioneer in the Premier League around.
Where's he on this list?
Yeah, like in terms of using it seriously. And we know Pep and Klopp use sports science now to and all clubs do, but they use it. And that's why, for instance, I don't think you can accredit the modern day teams for being better because they're almost all benefiting now off of all the things that previous generations have done for them. That's why I like to compare trophy for trophy. But Jose's up there for me, and the back-to-backs are massive. To do it back-to-back, and remember, he toppled the Invincibles, who I remember when they did that, there was a thought and feeling that could be their time to kick on and have their dominance like Man United had done previous, and Chelsea just, boom, stopped that straight away. I mean, it's also why Fergie's the GOAT, because then he stopped Jose and got him sacked. But
the thing is,
it's amazing what he did.
Jose... Pep Guardiola's had 5 full seasons as Man City manager. We don't know what's going to happen this year. In Jose's first 5, he also won 3 Premier Leagues. He also won 1 FA Cup, and he also won 4 League Cups. So, of course, the way that obviously Jose left after his got sacked, should I say, after his 5th full year. Pep Guardiola's in his 6th year now. He's probably going to win something this year. Maybe we'll see. But pound for pound, I say pound for pound, but in that period, 5 full seasons, Pep hasn't done anything that Jose hasn't done other than aesthetically pleasing. Their football looks better on the eye. But record-wise, titles, you can say he scored more goals. Yeah, but he conceded less goals. So where do you want to put the strength of play? For me, personally, beating Fergie and Invincibles to back-to-back league titles, to come back and do it again, for me, I have Jose as the greatest Premier League manager that isn't Sir Alex Ferguson. That's why I said Daniel go first, because I don't think I was going to really contradict what you were going to say. I have Jose above him. Now, I do think Pep's going to pass him in the end. I think by the time Pep's finished at Man City, he may well have a Champions League. And he probably is going to have more Premier Leagues. But Jose was competing also against Fergie, Wenger, Rafa, and then he came back and was competing against in the first year when he won it, 2015. Who was the manager?
The little
Tuchel was Pellegrini.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, so for me, I have Jose there. I have Jose. I think, and then of him and out of Pep. Now, yes, Pep didn't manage in Europa League, but then he also came to Man United and won a European trophy in the competition that we were in.
Oh yes.
I don't know.
Went that your first Europa League as well? It
was, and it's our last trophy as well.
When you properly break down Mourinho's Premier League career, it's so mad. His first season, he came in. He'd just come off a great season at Porto. I do believe in that first season. If you put that first season Mourinho in any other top 6 Premier League team, he would have been up there challenging for a title. That was the aura around him. In that first season at Chelsea, he won a Premier League and League Cup double. Second season, Premier League. Third season, domestic cup double. Then gets sacked 3 games into the next one. Comes back, has a poor season by his standards, winning nothing. Then just goes and does another double, because why not? Another League Cup and Premier League double season.
Do you know where it is though? I think, look,
It's mad.
and trust me, it even pains me. Like, I want to also just say, yeah, Jose Mourinho, because obviously I rate him more than a lot of other people do in terms of some people put like his latter stints a lot against his resume, a bit like what people do with Wenger and whatnot. And that's fair enough, innit? It depends on how you see things. But for me, the reason why I have Pep on top is I just think I think, do you know what it is? When you talk about it pound for pound, it is very, very similar. I would say, bar the fact that domestically as well, you have to include the League Cups, whether you think it's a minuscule trophy or not. It's part of the.
Jose has 4. They both got 4.
I'm saying the dominance, the way that Pep has won his
4 in a row.
terms of 4 in a row, in terms of the fact that he's also got a back-to-back, and he fell off he had a bad first year in the Premier League, but then wins 2 on the bounce. Then he's got one bad little year where Liverpool are obviously fantastic. Then he's won a league title, and depending on what we see this season, I think if you're saying Jose is the GOAT, I think if Pep wins a back-to-back, which it would be this year if he was to win the league, that makes him.
If he does 2 back-to-backs or add the Champions League to the mix, it is where it is.
Do you know what for me?
Go on, mate.
Do you know what for me puts Pep just ever so slightly above Mourinho is the fact, legacy-wise, he completed an unprecedented domestic treble. That's the only thing I'd say, because if there's a sign of a great team for me, is winning a treble. The only teams that don't do that is the Bayern Munich team in the 70s and that Milan team in the 90s. Other than that, every great team have won a treble. And for me, that team is solidified as a great team because of the fact they've won a domestic treble.
I understand that, but I know why you're putting that comment in there. There is only one treble. I know that the trebles get referred to, but there the other trebles or a trebles. There is one treble. No, I mean that. The same as I'll be honest with you. Again, I'm very consistent in this. The year that Man United won the Premier League and the League Cup, I didn't then, and I don't now call it a double. When Man United won the League Cup and the Europa League, on paper that's a double. No self-respecting Man United fan would ever call that a double, the double, some type of double, anything.
And we won the Community Shield, so that's a treble.
I don't care. I was proved wrong on spaces that it's been referred to in the past that these things are doubles. But for me, there is the treble, there's the quad, and I'll give you an example. If Liverpool do the quad, you lot will not allow anybody. If Man United were to win the Community Shield one year, the FA Cup, the League Cup, and the Europa League, and we started calling it a quad, you'd all do your fucking nut. That isn't a quad. Otherwise, I'll give you an example. That means your quad this year doesn't mean as much because lots of teams have won 4 trophies in the year before.
Yep. I mean, Man City did that exact year. They won the Community Shield.
They've done a quad already. I feel like, and I don't care that things have been written about in the past and whatever else, I feel like football needs to come together, wipe the slate clean, and be like, there's the double, the treble, the quad. It's 3 things. Anything outside of that is just winning trophies, multiple season trophies. And I only mean that because it's prestige. And I feel like if everything becomes a double or a treble or a quad, it all gets watered down and diluted. And legitimately, I mean, that's not trying to dig at any. Even when we won the European Cup and the Premier League, I didn't call it a double. I just didn't. It's just not what computes as a double in my head. But there we go. And it's just one of them things, as I say. Like, I'm not. And by the way, I wouldn't let anyone claim a quad if it ain't there is the quad. And if you don't do the quad, shut up about it. I don't want to hear about it. It doesn't exist outside that for me. Where's Klopp going, though, boys? Where's Klopp going?
Overrated.
Don't
what? Don't do this,
Neeks, man. I've just backed up Mourinho with you. You can't then put my man Jurgen Klopp down there. Jurgen Klopp is right in legend.
Jose's not my guy. You don't have to back him. I don't care.
Why is he in legend? He's won a league. Go on. Why is he in legend? I want to know.
Well, he's up against what many consider to be the best Premier League team. Well, I'm not going to bring in money because at the end of the day, I think money is a stupid argument. Pep Guardiola, there was no reason for him to go to an Arsenal who have less money because the best managers go to the best clubs who give them the best opportunity. So Jurgen Klopp came in against one of the best sides the Premier League has ever seen, won the first Premier League in 30 years. So that's where your Rams DOD comes in. He won the first Premier League for 30 years, got to back-to-back Champions League finals, lost the one he weren't favourite for, but we had to go through qualifiers to get to that Champions League final. Then we reached the Champions League final the second season, dropped 97 points, which is the most you can get without winning a Premier League. 99 points the next season to win the thing, and now we're on. He's got one of the domestic cups, so we do need an FA Cup in there, and we're set for a really, really promising end to the season. Even if we don't win anything else this season, it's not a failure. It's a disappointment, but it's not a failure.
Do you want me to add? He is the only manager, I think, on that list that's won a Premier League and a Champions League in the Premier era. No one else has done that. So
Fergie's
not in the list, so we can't.
That's why Fergie's out of it. Like, Fergie's out because there's nothing anyone's done that he hasn't. Like,
when you look at Fergie, you're like, wow, he was a bit good, Bernie. All these individual achievements, it's like, oh yeah, Mourinho was the only one, but Fergie. Klopp was the only one, but Fergie.
He didn't do it in another country, man. They don't count.
He did it in Scotland. Scotland's another country.
They don't count. A big European league.
Do you know what I mean? Sometimes I wish Fergie did that though. Sometimes when he turned down the opportunities, I look back and I'm like, even with some of our legends at the club, like sometimes with Scholes and Giggs, I'm sort of like, I wish you left at like 28 and did 4 or 5 years in Italy when it was at its pomp, or Spain, and killed it out there, because you'd just be under. But then people would say, no, they don't have Premier League longevity, so they still can't be the GOATs. And that's what would happen. That's what would happen. But look, I think Jurgen Klopp, for me, he goes into that legends category as well. And look, I've got no love lost when it comes to Liverpool Football Club. But as you've stated, it's the Champions League, it's the Premier League, it's the way his team plays. You've won a League Cup now. And I know he hasn't won that many trophies yet. When you compare the trophy volumes to Pep and Wenger and Jose Mourinho, he doesn't compete with them yet. He doesn't. But I think adding that Champions League in throws him into that mix. Now, if there was a section within a section, he'd be at the bottom end of the legend category. The Wenger's, Jose or Pep would be higher up that list just because of volume of trophies. But like Klopp is there or there. But he's one of the greats we've ever had, no doubt.
Just to add, barring obviously Fergie, I mean, on this list, if you compare each team, each manager took over, he's by far had the worst one. Or everyone in that legend category.
Except, in legend category.
A legend category, yes. I had to have a caveat.
My guy, David Moyes.
I agree, and I think you're right, and that's another one. That's one of the comparatives. It wasn't as bad as where Man United were as a club at the time. Maybe that, but then again, it's cultural. But yeah, you're right. He's built something that took time to build. Your team were in an absolute. I wouldn't say you were in a complete and utter mess. It was only a year or so before that you nearly won the league.
It was a big.
So let's not talk. Look, you'd still won trophies only a few years earlier. You nearly won a league. It was a mess. But but again, you're slightly rewriting history. You won trophies.
It was a mess, Terry.
Wait, how bad was the Jose side that he took over at Man United, by the way? Not the one to Man United.
You were bad, but don't act like you were a team that for 30
our greatest at the time, our greatest ever captain left the club.
Yes, but he weren't good enough anymore anyway.
Oh, he was. He was
still good.
He was still good.
Ram. How bad was the Man United side that Jose took over? Because that was a bad side.
So and so was this side. This side was bad as well.
You just said that he took over the worst side.
Again, I'm just saying that you compared it to what Fergie took over. Do your history. Liverpool weren't in a position where Man United.
Because you lot got relegated at that time, so that's a different story.
All sorts, but yeah, listen, he's definitely built a team from a worse position than Jose did, Pep did, and Wenger. To be fair, because although Wenger
got Bergkamp at that period,
but you got to remember as well, Wenger took over. Was it Bruce Rioch he took over from?
Yeah,
but you had that under George Graham, they were a brilliant team, and George Graham only had to step away because of some stuff that was going on behind the scenes. You know what I mean? Like Graham would have probably stayed. Like he was a very good manager. They had a very good team. There's no doubt.
Can I say on the Klopp thing quickly? Yeah, because I was rate. This I don't do the whole points thing. It's ridiculous. I rate Man City's 2019 trophy higher than the Centurions. 100 points looks good, cool, but who were you competing against? One of the worst Man United sides. That was not a very good Premier League Man United side. For Klopp to push that Pep side for the second season in a row towards 99 points. He got 98 points. He got 97. But it was the fact that from the turn of the year when they were going neck and neck, it was just win after win after win after, like, literally you could not slip up. And I just thought Liverpool's going to slip up. They're going to slip up. And they kept going. And he pushed them the whole way and then lost it on the last, obviously, last of the season. They won the game, but they lost the league by 1 point. And I was like, they got a Champions League final. How do you even get up for that after you've gone the whole way and lost out on the league? And he got up. It wasn't a great final, to be fair, but you got over the line. You won the Champions League. And for me, that season alone was like, this manager's on another level.
To add to that, like, when we talk about, and that's again why I was really, and to be fair, I'm actually annoyed that I forgot the point when we were talking about Ancelotti, when I think it was a gal saying it was a bit overrated. When you talk about races, like that is the degree, the pinnacle of degree of difficulty for me. Like Ancelotti, when we were second at the time when we did go to Old Trafford, offside goal and whatnot, but still had to go there and get the job done. You win, and then you still need to win the rest of your games because
that's more important than points.
Exactly, and no one's slipping up. Just to quickly, very quick question.
Guys, let me just do one thing quickly because I need to do this bit of the show. So we're going to start the 10-minute countdown, people, and I'm going to turn this round so you can. It's not very clear. Let me just go big for a second. You'll see this. It's the 10-minute countdown to get your super chats in, right? And I'm hitting the button now. Start, so you can see it. The 10-minute countdown has begun. There is a bid in already, though, people. So currently top of the tree, Klopp forever. The special one can't beat him. Jurgen Klopp has £20 on his name and will move to the top of the tree. That's how we had it. But Klopp goes on top. You have 10 minutes to change this. If you outbid whoever is on top, we will add at least a minute of time on if we're in the final minute of the countdown. So get your super chats in, people. It's great donations for the Football Terrace. It's a little bit of fun as well. Back to you, Dan, on your point. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, just a quick question to see what people think. Obviously, again, it will come. It will just see what people have in their criteria. If Tuchel, for example, wins a Champions League, and that obviously makes it a back-to-back Champions League, where would you then have him in the list? In your opinion? Does he stay good? Does he go great? Does he go legend?
I think he goes great. I think he goes great because only Real Madrid, which is mad. Real Madrid is the only team that's won it back to back to back. He's basically making another piece of history for English football.
Yeah, so, we've got a couple of shows coming out that we recorded over the last week that sort of touch on this, and I've already said it. If Tuchel wins the Champions League this year, if Chelsea have what he'll give Chelsea, and this is why he suddenly goes into legend, is because Chelsea suddenly have a better European pedigree and history than Man United. You become the second most successful team in Europe in the history of English football because you match what we've got in Champions Leagues. I think you've got more sort of UEFA Cup stroke Europa Leagues than we have. And you've done a back-to-back. You've done a repeat in what I think in the last 20 years is a much tougher era to win the Champions League now than before because it isn't just the champions that are in it. It's you could have a team that comes fourth this season, but what they do in the summer suddenly makes them the best team in Europe. That didn't happen 20, 30 years ago. A team would have to wait a full year to win their league to get back into the Champions League. So sometimes some of the greatest teams must have just missed each other in the Champions League because they both weren't champions at the same time. So yeah, I think that's look, Tuchel's on the edge of moving towards that. There's no doubt. Micah here says Jose record of 95 points, Klopp 97, 99, and Pep 98 and 100, of course.
Just real quick on the Klopp point. I know it's a little bit off topic.
Just get these super chats here. Jose had Fergie on the ropes, just saying. He did, but then Fergie knocked him out.
Rope-a-dope. Get off the rope and knocked him out around 8.
And a lot of people in the comments will understand that people are acting like Fergie didn't spend. Listen, all these clubs have spent money. Like you've got to just look at Liverpool's spend in Premier League history. Even before Klopp was here, over £1 billion spent. Up until Jurgen Klopp came in, up until Fergie retired, Liverpool had spent more money than Man United in the Premier League. Liverpool have spent, Chelsea have spent, City have spent, United have spent. Arsenal have spent. Like all three clubs have spent over £1 billion towards £2 billion on players. No one has the right to moan, in my opinion, about that. People, we're down to the last 6 minutes and 40 seconds. Jurgen Klopp is top of the pops. As it stands, you have 6 minutes or so to get to get that vote, and otherwise Jurgen Klopp is going to win the fan vote tonight. Sorry, back to you, Tom.
Just on the Klopp point, I know there'll be, he's only won one Premier League and all that. If Jurgen Klopp was to leave the Premier League today, I'd have him down as the 5th best manager in the Premier League era. And I don't think it would be close between 5th and 6th in reality, based on what they accomplished.
Who's the 4 you have above him right now?
Guardiola, Wenger, Mourinho, Fergie.
Yeah, fair enough. To be fair, though, what I was going to say, though, sorry that it isn't completely directly to your point, but again, to the money spent, that's why I don't really. Fair enough. Someone will say it's because I support Chelsea that I don't really care about the money spent thing. But again, if we look at Man United, the reason why we laugh at the £1 billion that United have spent between in that period where you haven't won a league title, where it's like Schneiderlin and all those guys, is because you haven't won anything. Like no one's money spent becomes embarrassing when you spent so much money and you're not winning anything. You haven't gone anywhere in terms of where you are. Do you know what I'm saying? Like everyone spends money. Like tell me a manager that hasn't spent money and has won the league title. Like
exactly, Daniel. It's the big point about it as well. It's the big point about why do people expect Pep to go out his way? Why do people expect Pep Guardiola, a man who's won 6 trophies in a year, done 3 league titles back to back at Bayern, and won like 3 or 2 or whatever it was at Barca, to go, no, I'm not going to go join City where they'll give me all the facilities I need to succeed. Let me go take on a challenge at Tottenham or something. You give the best managers the facilities.
This is what makes it so funny about hypocrisy and whatnot. Like, bro, this is why the Graham Potters and whatnot, why are we asking, or why are people that stand these guys asking them to get bigger jobs? It's so that they see what they do when they get a bigger job, try to play that football and get the wallet, the cash to spend. And it's those same guys who struggle.
So I'm looking at this article here from 2013. So my numbers are slightly off, but the point remains the same. So this was an article on the 4th of Feb in 2013 on TalkSport, but taking the figures from the transfer market website. So at that point, the 10th highest spender in the Premier League were Sunderland on 300 million. I'm rounding this up. Everton on 300 million. Aston Villa has spent 360 mil. Newcastle has spent nearly 500 million up until that point. Arsenal has spent nearly 500 million. Spurs at that point had spent 620 million pounds on players. Man United in that whole time. So from this is where people go, Fergie spent. This is perspective for you. Fergie only spent 50 million pounds more in the whole Premier League era up until he retired than Tottenham. Liverpool at that point has spent 730 million at that stage. Man City then 742. Chelsea at that point had spent spent 1.1 billion pound at that point. Like Chelsea broke the mold a little bit.
The thing is, Chelsea always spent money, even
Chelsea
before.
Chelsea were big spenders prior to that, and people forget these things. And if you actually add up totals in the Premier League, net spend, everyone knows I don't go with, because I don't think net spend is necessarily, not necessarily real. It isn't bloody real. We saw it the other day. United spend more in wages, everyone was laughing. But we spend 10% less of our income on wages than Arsenal do. We only have to pay our players more because we generate more income. It's the nature of the beast. We have a super chat here that says, when you enjoy what you do, you don't lose your hair, and Guardiola is bald. Mourinho just hit different. Move Mourinho to GOAT. Mourinho has been moved to GOAT with just over 2 minutes. Just over 2 minutes. Mourinho goes up. Klopp goes down. He has been put there. And as you can see, there is 2 minutes and 34 seconds remaining to get it done. And I'm going by my clock. So you've got to get them chats in. And if you knock Jose off within the last minute, we'll add the minute back. That's what we will keep doing. You can bid. You can have a little bit of fun there. Go on, mate.
For Tom. Who are you putting higher, Wenger or Klopp, as it stands right now as we speak?
As it stands, I'm putting probably Wenger because he's won more. But
more league titles.
We've got a Champions League, which is something that he doesn't have, but he's got a lot more domestic cups than Klopp has, and he's got a couple more league titles. But I do think Klopp is breathing down his neck. If he gets another Champions League, he's over him, in my opinion.
Oh, man. I was gonna just ask that. Can Klopp overtake Wenger without winning multiple Premier Leagues, or only one Premier League?
Yeah, the European legacy is such a big thing. That is the thing that will always weigh down on Wenger. He didn't do it in Europe to the level they should have. I know they went invincible, But for that team, them Wenger teams they reach one Champions League final.
And that was right at the end of that invincible team.
Yeah.
That invincible team got knocked out to Wayne Bridge in 2004. I remember it. I celebrated it.
When you move this outside of Prem talk and you look at overall legacy, it's always going to be the thing, not going back to back for Wenger, and like I've said before, a lot of the soft facts, the dietary things and the styles of play. If you speak to experts on each manager or fan bases on each of these managers we speak of, they'll all tell you those same types of stories. It comes down to brass tacks, and that's what did you win, how many you won, and then the records within it. Those three things, at the end of the day, are all that matters. And guys, sorry to interject, we do this. We're into the last 40 seconds of this, people. Do it now or forever hold your peace. I'm going to count this down with you. Jose Mourinho is top of the charts as it stands right now. You can't get away from it. I think he's going to win. I think Jose Mourinho has done it tonight, people. I think the Chelsea fans have stepped up. They've got it done as we go into the last 25 seconds. And we're going to tick this down together. You've got to get it in, people. You're running out of time. Maybe you left it too long. Maybe you're sitting there now frantically typing. There's nothing I can do about that. The timer is a timer. We set it up for that exact reason. What's going to happen? What's going to be done here? We're going to go here. We're going to 4. We're going to 3. We're going to 2. And we're going to 1. And that is done. The alarm goes off. Let me stop that because that's going to be noisy. I don't know how to stop it. There we go. It's just going off.
Turn off the phone.
Yeah, and I'm worried about what it's going to show. So there we go. That's it. Jose Mourinho wins tonight, people, and gets that done. We really appreciate all the donations that have come in tonight. Thank you very, very much indeed.
There's a comment from Los Blancos. He goes, "Payday's next week." Sorry, Terry.
Listen, it's all a little bit of fun. Do you know what it is? Whenever I do these, you always get someone goes, "Oh, can you do this? Can you try that? Can you do that?" Listen, it was you guys that started in the first place. But listen, lots of super chats in tonight prior to the bidding side of things. But Deborah as well, very sorry. But of course, $19 US. It doesn't add up to £20. So I even had currency converters up ready just so that I was trying to be fair to people, like trying to be nice there. But yeah, man.
In the overrated category, you got two of the Man City winning managers, Premier League managers, isn't it? Pellegrini and Mancini.
I still
maybe some more Man City fans. Listen, David Moyes is the best thing to come out of Merseyside, isn't it? So
what was big man David Moyes doing in this discussion?
David Moyes is a Premier League legend. David Moyes is a Premier League legend.
Sam Allardyce is a bigger legend than David Moyes.
True fact.
He might be. He's had some balling.
Yes.
Like, the teams that
he actually got Champions League football.
Who?
Harry
Redknapp. Yeah, he did. To be fair, but
that Portsmouth team, man.
He's up there. He's a transfer window legend.
Won an FA Cup as well.
Harry Redknapp. But listen, Big Sam did his bit. Like with that Bolton side and the Blackburn side, them man were balling. Morton Gans Pedersen and Nelka, Stelios Giannakopoulos, JJ Kocher. Listen,
Ivan Campo.
2 guys.
Brought Fernando Hierro from Madrid back for a year because why not?
Blackburn and Bolton were balling. Kevin Davis just roughing man up and twerking on them to win the headers. It's a respect.
Like at the end of the day, yeah, David Moyes might have done better with Everton, but where's his streets won't forget Everton team? Where's his Tim Cahill does not compare to JJ Okocha.
All we'll say is, at the end of the day, the reason why Jose still reigns and Jose will always live long in the memory of everyone is because it comes down to winning trophies. I think he even said it the other day. Like he was talking about how, like, obviously, I don't necessarily agree with
some manager chat to him.
Yeah, he was like, this guy's won 1 trophy in his whole career. Like, let him chat to me when he's got like 25 or something.
Wait, who was that?
I've forgotten what manager he was chatting to.
I think it was like the Spezia manager said Mourinho's past it, and he went, he went like, oh yeah, he's won 2 Serie Bs. I can take it off such and like people who've won 25, but not from him.
Didn't he also and he called Frank de Boer the worst manager in Premier League history?
He has the best quotes. He called Wenger the specialist in failure and then slapped him.
Do you know what I would say as well though, right? It's one thing I'd say about Klopp and Pep, right? Maybe it's the clubs, maybe it's the personalities. The one thing one day this debate will happen, and maybe you do it when they're near the end of their careers, and you put in all the Prem managers, and you really sort the men from the boys. The one thing Pep isn't going to have what Jose, Fergie, and Wenger had is their spats and their arguments and their quotes and their mind games. I think add to their legendary status. Now, I've seen with Pep and Klopp, it's almost like they refuse to get into it. And I could only speak as someone who witnessed amazing mind games and arguments. It adds to the rivalry, which adds to the tension, which adds to the historic element of winning these tournaments. So when City beat United with that Aguero goal, what made it more noisy was the noisy neighbor quote. What made it kind of more in your face was the noisy neighbor quote that Fergie gave a few years prior, because there was a bit of stick because of it. You know, the I love it if we beat them from Kevin Keegan, the fax moment with Rafa Benitez, you know, Fergie and Wenger, Pizzagate, all these things that happened. When someone wins a title or wins the game, it's a different level. I just find with Pep and Klopp, the one thing they don't have is needle with each other, and I think they need a bit of it.
I think, and do you know what? The Liverpool fans might disagree, but I think Klopp wants to be that guy. I think he wants to be a little bit of a villain with the little cheap. He's got little sarcastic comments here and there.
If Lampard was any good, we might have a bit of a rivalry. Lampard likes to talk.
Right. But I think Pep Guardiola stays away from it, because when he did go toe to toe with Jose
lost. Jose wiped the floor with him.
Yeah.
He
actually rattled him
because I think Klopp gets better when he gets emotional, because he did it to Man United when he did the whole penalties thing. We've barely had a penalty since. Klopp is good at it, but Pep isn't. Pep, I think, is a little bit too sensitive. You know, I'm okay, I'm happy.
Because he's all about the nice about football, the orchestra playing.
To be fair,
whereas they say rock and roll, but he's literally Klopp's in your face. And Pep's like, no, I'll just pass around you.
To be fair, since that, what's it called? They are a pain in the ass. That quote. They started dropping points. I'm just saying.
I think my favourite one, though, is when he sat in the press conference after they got beat by Norwich and started going on how people call him fraudiola, trying to play mind games with whoever that was he was trying to play mind games with, and just lost.
The thing is, all great managers are bad. Like, all great sports people are bad losers. It's almost impossible to be. Like, Fergie was terrible. Like, Pep and Klopp are just hilarious, because, I mean, Klopp, especially, like, they've both done ties from AFTVs. They've blamed flood. Like, it was Tuchel that blamed the floodlights. But floodlights have been blamed. Like, long grass, it's raining. I swear Tuchel blamed the floodlights when Sancho scored because of Jorginho's touch.
The lights,
right. In the same brightness for 50 years.
But look, to be honest, if you're a good loser, I think you're not cut out for this sport. You're not good. Like,
no,
you're a good loser.
That's the one thing I get. It's funny with City, right? Like, we all know that Pep. I think by the time Pep retires, we are looking at a man that could be regarded by then as the greatest club manager of all time. If he adds another Champions League, if he keeps winning titles, unless he has a massive drop off and barely wins anything now and retires in 5 years' time, he's already in the top 5 of all time for me, and he could become the greatest ever club manager. I think that's fair to put him in that category. The one thing he does, I don't know why. Maybe it's especially because he's been in England and I watch English football. I just don't have, as much as I hated Jose and I hated Wenger when they're at their best, and Keegan and Dalglish at Blackburn, I had this like respect and hate for them at the same time, and it's kind of endeared me to them. But with Pep, I just don't care. Does that make sense? I couldn't care less.
I'll tell you why, though, Terry. And it's not even to be rude, but it's because you're not good right now.
No, it's not, because I feel like that because I feel that way towards Klopp. And do you know who I'm starting to feel that way towards? I feel that way right now towards. No, Arteta fucking annoys me.
Oh, yeah.
He's on the sideline.
No,
that's not a bitter thing. It's like, you fucking prick, sit down. Tuchel, though, a bit like Pep. I'm just like, he's nice, isn't he? And I don't like feeling like that. I want to hate him. Like, be nastier. Be a bit nasty. Come on now. But yeah.
No, everyone remembers the twice thing and the way he celebrated against Liverpool. I mean, he has a bit of a nasty streak to him.
Someone said in the comments saying, I remember when Klopp gets annoyed with the relegation and threatened teams, it's hilarious. I remember when we drew with West Brom one season, he went, they can enjoy playing on this dry grass in Championship next season. He's mad sometimes. Guardiola doesn't do that. He's all dead sophisticated. Let me look all prim and proper. That's not how it is. They want the drama.
Especially with Tuchel as well, and I think maybe his why I like Jose is different to why I like Tuchel. I think I like Tuchel so much because he's so honest with the fans, and it's especially because like what we had compared to Lampard, every single time it was the players, always the players' fault, never any like self-reflection. But Tuchel will tell you where he went wrong, tell you where the game went wrong, like analyze it, and everyone likes that honesty as fans. And I think from a Tuchel perspective, I just don't think it's in him to be nasty. I think every time we lose, he looks within first. Like he's aware in it. Like he's not like
nah, he's nasty. He can be nasty. He can be nasty.
Yeah, but you got to bear in mind, man, they just came off Frank Lampard, who was sitting on our touchline on the day we lifted the Premier League title, trying to chat to us, going, "You've won one league title and you're giving it the big one."
Someone here says Pep is nasty. I kind of feel. Do you know what it is? Pep kind of has a pop at journalists, and he moans about, but he won't go at a individual. I feel like he doesn't go at individuals, and it doesn't just got to get picked up.
I think he's the kind of guy that just lets his team do the talking.
No, I get that. Listen, it's not a dig at him. It's how he is a person. I'm just talking about from a spectacle point of view. I like the argy-bargy.
Well, it's like Tyson Fury's fighting Dillian White, and it's losing its edge if Dillian White don't turn up for the press conferences, because the fight is all good, but you need that, because then after when it's done, you can refer to what was said before the fight and all that kind of stuff.
Generally, when you look at the biggest fights in history, that pay-per-view buys, people that turn up, doesn't always mean the best fights. That's why all of Conor McGregor's fights have been massive, because he said some things in the past that are like terrible, but it's all to get. He wants people to. Kobe Covington's doing it brilliantly in MMA. He says things because he wants all the viewers there. Half want to see him win, half want to see him get knocked out, but it makes you want to tune in beyond the sport.
Muhammad Ali's legendary status is it's amplified by what he was saying off the outside the ring, and it's a part of it.
Even like you look at, I think the two biggest British fights for me, when you talk about the sparring of words, for me personally, like even. Put aside Anthony Joshua, Dylan White, the hate and they had. I'm talking about building it up and whatnot. Carl Froch, George Groves, but if you know the what went into that, that was crazy. I think David Hay, Tony Bellew as well. In terms of word, the fight didn't live up to expectation, but in terms of what was said,
put all your dough money on him winning it. All that it does make it. Do you know what's funny as well? Like we obviously are living in a society now where that. Like whenever I hear a boxer say, I want to put you in a coma. Someone, look, I never fought anywhere near their level, but someone who's had full contact fights, who's been in gyms and everything else, I know, I can't explain it. I know where they're coming from. They don't always necessarily mean it. It's to sell the fight. It's to amplify things up. Like people say things like that to their kids. Oh, if you keep doing that, I'm gonna. Like it comes out your parents' mouth sometimes. They're not actually most are not actually going to do it. But we live in this world now where everything you say is overly scrutinized, and the way fighters, especially, are like put into these. I don't think people. If you've never been a fighter, you don't know what it feels like to be gearing up to go into a ring where someone's going to hurt you. Your mindset isn't like you're a baker or a banker or a web designer. Like it's a different mindset you've got to be in. But now I like a little bit of needle, and I really do respect that Pep isn't overtly like that. But I think it would add to the legacy, because when you think of Wenger, I do think of the football stuff. I mean, him standing in the crowd at Old Trafford with his arms out and he was sent off. Moments like that are beyond football. And, you know, like now Wenger's retired, or as soon as Wenger stopped being a threat, I loved him. I was like, he's a great guy, really.
Mike Tyson said, someone just in the comments, Tyson Lewis. Mike Tyson said to Dallas Lewis, I want to eat your children. The only thing is, Mike Tyson might be saying the truth, but it was spectacle.
Yeah,
and then he bit around the Holyfield arrow. Like, listen, it adds to it. It doesn't define the man, and you're not going to vote him down because of it. But when all is said and done, when you actually analyze it, and let's say two people are on the same stats, same trophies, it's those added things that you think, okay, how good was the rivalry? Yeah. So you're thinking, maybe Klopp's rivalry with Pep wasn't all that great because it didn't have the same. It didn't leave the same impact on you.
It didn't have that bite. It didn't have the bite.
Yeah, that may be a third.
When you look back on it, it just be Liverpool versus City, not Klopp versus Pep. That's the potential issues. I mean, I remember the whole fact rant, and all the United players who came out afterwards and said Fergie knew that was when he had him. Like they not only did they add to the storylines, they worked for it in seasons. Yeah. We struggled for a couple of games after that because Benitez was too focused on Mr. Mike Riley giving Manchester United penalties.
I agree. Micah here says the cynic in me is thinking that Tuchel is going to stop Liverpool's quad and City's treble.
This is how I think, by the way.
Don't manifest it.
No. The thing is, the reason why I think that is because, like you said, you don't hate Tuchel, but like, for example, him winning the Champions League is like, that's just against the script. That's annoying. Like, oh, why would you go and do that for kind of thing? Like remember when, I will never forget this, Terry. Like the lead up to that final, it was like, especially even on the terrace, like when we were saying, obviously, I can't remember who exactly predicted Chelsea to win, bar the Chelsea fans. Yeah. But like, it was almost disrespectful. Like, it's gonna be Pep's first title. I was hearing that it made sense. That was the logical thing to happen. If Tuchel does it, it's going against the grain kind of thing. And I feel like when we did win it, it was almost like, oh, why did these lot win another Champions League? Like, that's so annoying. They didn't even. We're winning Champions Leagues when we're not even the best team in the country, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? And it shouldn't
That's why
be.
that's why you win all your Champions Leagues.
It's true. Listen, everyone that's tuned in, a massive thank you to all of you, all of the super chatters tonight, absolute legends. To that troll that says, why are we copying this idea from other channels? That's hilarious. Football Terrace copies all ideas from everybody else because, that's just what we do. That's sarcasm, by the way. Until next time, people, take care. Goodbye. God bless.